This week, we're going to say goodnight to hips. So we're going to do a calming evening practice and release tension, especially around the hips and the lower back. Let's get started. With this sequence, this yoga practice, we're going to wind down and try to release tension around the hips, the lower back, the whole pelvic area. And I suggest having one block for your practice, so that will be used for a supported bridge in the end. And we're also going to spend quite a lot of time on the knees. So if you know that you have sensitive knees, then bring a blanket or something else soft to cushion your knees. That being said, we're going to start in child's pose. So as you'll find your way into child's pose, if the knees feel sensitive, get something soft under the knees. It could be a towel as well, it could be a small cushion. And then we're going to lean forward. And you could also bring some support under the head. It could be your block, or it could be your hands. Or maybe you lean your head all the way down onto the mat. But try to bring your head to a place where your neck feels supported. You could open your knees wider apart. So this could be a wide-legged child's pose. Look for a shape where you feel your hips would be rather comfortable. So we're trying to create some ease around the hips with this practice. If there is a lot of tension, of course, you might feel there's a stretch and the pose might feel a bit more challenging. That's okay. But see if you could create some more ease, then find a way to adjust the pose. And you're very welcome to adjust the arms as well. They could be down next to your legs if that feels better, in the shoulders. Once you have found your child's pose, then take a moment to focus on the breath. And first, just observe your breath. Notice that calm rhythm in your breath. You might a few times exhale through the mouth, letting out a gentle sigh. Starting to give yourself a permission to let go of tension that you don't need right now. Let your shoulders soften. And let's take a few more breaths in this child's pose. And let those few breaths slide all the way down towards the lower belly, all the way down towards the lower back. Just let your pelvis become a little bit heavier. Let the pelvis sink down. Let the belly sink down onto your thighs or between the thighs. And then, with your next couple of breaths, slowly bring your hands onto the mat overhead and bring yourself up onto hands and knees. So open your palms on the mat. If you still need any cushioning under the knees, just keep your soft towel, your soft blanket there. From all fours, we're going to step the right foot forward and step your right foot to the outside of your right hand, so that your both hands are on the inside of that right foot. And you could even open your right hip a bit further out, coming into that winged dragon pose. allowing the front of the left hip to open. You might gently rock from side to side a couple of times. If you want, you might even move down onto your elbows if that feels better in your hips, in your back. For a few breaths, find some stillness. Let the body calm down into the pose and just observe the breath. Becoming aware of each breath in and each breath out. Finding softness where you don't need to build up tension. So notice those areas of the body that could soften. Take another breath in and out. And then bring yourself back onto your hands if you are down on the elbows. And slowly move the pelvis back. Step your right knee next to the left knee. We're going to shift the weight forward onto a kneeling plank. So like a plank pose, but we're going to stay on the knees. Inhale. And as you exhale, slowly come down onto your chest, onto your belly. Keep your legs long. Step hands just a bit wider apart. And then as you inhale, peel the chest off the mat into a small cobra pose. And exhale, release down. You could lift hands onto fingertips if you want. Same again. Inhale, open the chest. Keep the front of the pelvis wide on the mat. Exhaling down. Just gently pressing the front of the pelvis towards the ground. Once more with the in-breath, peel the chest off the mat. And exhale, lower down. Ground your hands. Bring yourself back onto hands and knees. Inhale. And exhale, lean back into child's pose. Round your back. And I would just take a breath or two in and out here. And then slowly with the next couple of breaths, we're going to come back onto hands and knees. And we're going to step the left foot forward. So we're going to do that winged dragon on the other side. And again, step that foot on the outside of your left hand. So the foot is further out to the side. You could even open the left hip. Maybe the knee turns more out to the side. And you can stay on your hands, maybe rocking from side to side. Or feel free to come down onto your elbows. So you might also lower down, and second side might be different than the first side. And then for a few breaths, find some stillness. Let the body settle in, calm down into the pose, and just focus on the breath. Within the stillness of the pose, there's still the breath flowing in, flowing out. Trying to soften the neck, the shoulders. Take another breath in and out. And then if you are down on the elbows, lift yourself up onto your hands. And again, lift the pelvis a bit higher up so you can step your left knee next to the right knee. And from here we go into downward dog. So tuck your toes under, lift your pelvis up, and then feel free to move here. Walking from one foot to the other, pedaling the feet, moving the ankles. You can bend and straighten the knees, allowing the back side of your pelvis, thighs to open. Heavy head can drop down. Again, after some movement,
for a few breaths, find some stillness. Find that grounding through the hands. Maybe heels reach down towards the mat, but don't feel that you need to force the heels down. There could also be a gap between the heels and the floor. Maybe knees stay slightly bent. Take another breath in and out. And then slowly from this downward dog, we're going to step the left foot back to the hands. This time, we're going to keep the left foot more in the center. Bring the right knee down. You could keep the toes tucked under or release the right foot. And then as you inhale, bring yourself up into a higher lunge and bring your hands close to your shoulders or maybe onto the shoulders. We're going to inhale, open the chest, circle the elbows. Exhale, release the pelvis a bit further down. Inhale again, circle the shoulders and the elbows. Exhale, release the pelvis down. And a few more circles with your own breath. Trying to bring gentle movement to the shoulders while opening again through the front of that right hip. Let's do another circle. You could open the chest into a small back bend. And then we're going to release the hands back down. And from here, we're going to walk hands to that long side of the mat and turn our pelvis kind of open towards the long side of the mat. And then lift yourself up into a kneeling warrior two. So keep your left hip open, the left foot toes pointing to the top of the mat, although chest, pelvis turning towards the long side of the mat. And now from here, lean your left elbow onto the left thigh, and then inhale, start to open your chest and reach the right arm up. If you want, you can exhale, continue into a gentle side bend. So you're really opening the right side, the right arm, moving overhead. And you might bend the left knee a bit more. There could be a stretch, maybe in the inner thigh on the left side, maybe in the groin area. Maybe you feel this as an opening on the front of that right hip. Take another breath in and out. And then as you inhale, lift yourself up to center. And from here, tilt down onto the right hand at the other end of the mat. And find yourself in a gate pose, reaching the left arm up. Or bring left hand onto your left side. We're going to either stay here, so you could keep your left foot down, or lift your left leg up into the air, and then see if you could bend your left knee and reach left hand to the left foot or ankle to now open more through the front of the left hip, left thigh. That's very optional. You can leave that left foot down onto the mat. So find your edge. Where do you feel? You find some ease, again, around the hips, maybe lower back. And whichever variation you're doing, let your chest gently open. You could look down if neck gets tense. And take another breath in and out. And then if you are holding that left foot, slowly release the left foot down, extend that left leg. And bring your both hands to the mat, to the floor in front of you. So walk your hands in front of you. And then slowly open the right knee a bit further out to the side. We're going to lean the pelvis down towards that right foot. And you can either keep your left foot closed in, or you could turn your left foot toes up towards the ceiling. So finding maybe a bit more opening in the inner thigh area. You could stay on your hands, or again, if you want, you could lean lower down, maybe onto the elbows. And see if you could release the neck, release the shoulders. So you might lean your head down. You might play with the pose. If you don't quite feel any sensations in that left leg when you're in the center, you might try walking your upper body a bit more to the left side or to the right side. Take a couple more breaths in and out. And softening where you feel you could soften just a bit more, letting go of tension. And then slowly with the next few breaths, if you are down on the elbows, bring yourself back onto your hands. Start to lift your pelvis off the mat. And from here, we're going to bend that left knee again. And we're going to bring both feet on the mat and lift up into a wide-legged forward bend. So let your feet move. The legs can be quite wide apart. Bring fingertips on the mat, under the shoulders. And as you inhale, lift halfway up into a flat back, opening the chest. And then exhale, bend down into a full forward bend. You might still adjust your feet. You could keep your hands down on the mat, or you could hold your elbows. Maybe gently rock or kind of swing from side to side. Really opening through the back side, maybe inner legs, groin area here as well. Take another few breaths in and out. And try to find some stillness. Maybe bring yourself to your center. What feels like center to you now? And then slowly find your hands onto the mat. Bring some weight onto the hands or fingertips. Inhale back into flat back. So lift yourself slightly away from the mat. And then we're going to walk hands to the right foot. Turn toes towards the other end of the mat. And we're going to bring the left knee down. And we're going to look for that higher runner's lunge again. So you could either relax the left foot toes or keep the toes tucked under. We're going to now inhale, lift the back up. And again, bring hands onto your shoulders or close to the shoulders. Inhale, circle the arms, the elbows, open and back. And then exhale, bring the pelvis just a bit further down. Inhale, open the chest, circle the arms. Exhale, lean a bit further down. And continue this a few rounds. Again, you can let your back find a bit more of a back bend as you open the chest. Keep tops of the shoulders soft. Take another breath, another circle, in and out. And then from your next circle, slowly bring your hands down. Step your both hands on the mat. And we're going to now turn again to the long side of the mat into that kneeling warrior 2. So lift your back up, open the arms and you can adjust where your right foot is. So the weight is on the right foot, left knee. And you can move your right foot to a good angle where you don't feel there's any rotation or pain in the right knee. And from here, we're going to lean right elbow onto the right thigh and then start to open the chest, and you could lengthen the left arm higher up, maybe up towards the ceiling. If you want to go further, start to bring that left arm closer to your ear, kind of overhead. And you might bend more into that right knee. That might change how you feel in the inner thigh area, the groin area. You might focus on opening the front of the left hip. Maybe that brings some opening to that front side as well. And you can look down to the mat if that releases the neck more. Take another breath or two in and out. And then slowly start to lift yourself back up. And we're going to lean out onto the left hand. So left hand comes down on the mat. And we're going to extend the right leg. And you can either bring your right arm up towards the ceiling or step right hand onto your right side. And you could stay here. This could be a very nice pose to stay in. Or the other option would be to lift your right leg up into the air, and then you could bend the right knee, reach right hand to the right foot behind you, or maybe holding the right ankle. And opening a bit more through the front of that right hip, right thigh. That might also bring more of an opening in the shoulder area. And here as well, you might look down if that releases the neck. You might look up if you enjoy that opening. Give yourself a few breaths in and out. Softening around the shoulders. Now let's take another breath in and out. And then if you are holding that right foot, slowly release the right foot down and bring your both hands on the mat so that you can walk hands in front of you to the long side of the mat. Turn the left knee a bit further out to the side and then start to lean the pelvis down. You might sit on your left foot. And again, the right foot toes, they could stay turned towards the long side of the mat, or you could turn the right foot toes up towards the ceiling. And you might adjust where that right foot is on the mat. And we're looking for some opening, again, in the inner thigh area. Maybe it's in the right leg, maybe it's more in the left leg. If you want, you might go lower down, maybe onto your elbows. Second side might be very different. And just like I said earlier, you might also lean a bit more to right or left. You might find some different sensations there. And keep breathing. Send a few breaths to those areas where you feel the pose most. Maybe it's not the inner thigh area, maybe you feel this somewhere else. Focus on those sensations. Allow a few more slow breaths to release tension. And then after your few breaths, if you are down on the elbows, slowly bring yourself up onto your hands. And from here, we are trying to find an easy way out of this pose without coming up. So see if you could just lean onto your hands and then lean to sit down on the pelvis. Bring both feet in front of you, and now bring your legs into a butterfly shape. If it makes things easier, you could now bring your block under the pelvis so you could sit on a block. Or you might adjust the angle that you have in your legs. You could have your feet close to the pelvis, you could have your feet further away from the pelvis. We're going to slowly lean forward. Might maybe start hands around the feet and start to lean the pelvis forward, so kind of tilting your hips forward. And you could stay there. If you want, you might round your back. At that point, you might lean your arms further forward. Maybe you let go of your feet. Maybe you step hands, arms further forward in front of the legs. Rounding your back might bring some more sensations into your spine, along the spine. If you prefer, just focusing on the hip area, you might keep your back more extended. So see where you find your edge, what's needed right now, and pause there for a few breaths. Maybe breathing more towards the back side of the body. Take another breath or two in and out. Let your jaw soften. And after your few breaths, slowly bring your back up, bring your head up first, reaching up through the head. And then roll the shoulders. Turn other way on your mat, or of course, depending on how you were on your mat. But now find your way lying down. So turn so that you can then lean to lie down on your back and bring your block with you so that you can easily reach for your block when you are lying down on your back. Take a couple of breaths. Just let the heavy pelvis sink down. Let your shoulders, your head rest on the mat. You can breathe a couple of times down to the belly. Maybe you bring hands onto the belly. Just feeling the breath sinking down. Notice how it feels to be supported through the mat, through the floor. And then we're going to find our way into that supported bridge pose. So bring the feet to a place where you feel you could then press down through the feet. Bring arms next to your sides and check that you have the block in a place where you can easily reach for the block. Slowly press down through the feet. Inhale to lift your pelvis off the mat, to open through the front of the hips. And then reach for the block so you can bring your block under the pelvis. It could be a very low block, or you could turn your block to be a high pillar. Bring your block to a place where you could then safely, without any pains, without any aches, lean the pelvis on top of the block. And this way you can soften the buttocks a bit more, you can soften the backs of your thighs. And you could leave arms just resting next to the sides. Or if you want, you could now bring arms overhead, but let them rest on the mat, on the floor. And again, find your breath. Some of you might want to extend their legs. That is an option. If your back feels safe with legs extended, you could just slide the heels, the feet along the mat. If that feels that is too much for the back or the hips, then keep your knees bent. Let yourself stay on an easy edge, soft edge. And again, give yourself a few more breaths in and out. Just notice that space that each breath gently opens up. And let the exhalation soften tension around that space. Permission to let go. Take another breath in and out. And if you have your legs extended, slowly bring your feet back on the mat, bending the knees. Bring arms down if you've had them overhead, somewhere next to your sides, and then gently press down through the feet so you can make your pelvis a bit lighter. Just slide your block away from under the pelvis and release the back, release the pelvis down. And then we'll do a few windshield wipers. We'll swing the knees, the legs from side to side. Arms in a place that lets your shoulders stay soft. Find that subtle twisting through the hips, through the lower back. Or maybe that twist goes up along the spine. Maybe you start to feel it in your upper spine. You could turn your head from side to side. Keep shoulders soft as well. Another couple of swings from side to side. And then find yourself to center. And let yourself find a resting pose. This could be Shavasana pose. You could also find a different shape. Could be a reclining butterfly. Where do you feel you could let yourself rest? And I suggest closing your eyes if that feels comfortable. Just bring your awareness back to your breath. Back to that gentle, subtle flow in and out. And I'll suggest that you give yourself some time to stay, to rest in your Shavasana pose, in your resting pose. I'm going to leave you here. Give yourself time to rest. I thank you very much for joining in, for sharing the practice. And I'll see you in the next practice, in the next video. Namaste.